Welcome back to Faculty Spotlights. My name is Dr. Anna Belmonte. I'm the Division Chair for Forensic Psychology here at the Chicago School. Today, I am joined by Dr. Marina Bassili. And Dr. Bassili is an assistant professor at our Anaheim campus. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, can you start off by sharing a little bit about your background and what brought you to the Chicago School?
Yeah. So I'm a licensed clinical and forensic psychologist. I have been in private practice for a few years. I do both therapy and forensic work. But I've always been really passionate about training and mentorship, and I've enjoyed supervising in the past. So that led me to teaching pretty early on in my career before I was even licensed. But I was teaching primarily online when I started teaching, and the opportunity came up to teach here at the Chicago School. And of course, that was in person because we have a hybrid program. So I was really excited about that. I came on as adjunct at the end of 2024. And I was really drawn to the program because of its emphasis on developing competent practitioners. So that was something that I like that you all put words to. But if you speak to my students, you'll know I really drill in critical thinking, and that's what it's all about. So the idea of helping shape competent practitioners who are thinking critically about research and scholarship and not just kind of book book knowledge really resonated with me. So I love the connection of being face to face. And again, I was eager to join as full-time faculty when an opening came up, and here we are.
Awesome. And we're glad to have you. What areas of teaching, research, or practice are you most passionate about right now?
So I'm especially passionate about teaching in the areas of trauma, and I have been teaching a lot of assessment courses. And so that's been new for me, but really exciting, but specifically with an application to forensic settings. And in terms of the forensic work that I do, and which I'm particularly interested in and passionate about, juvenile is important to me. I think it's just generally important work, but also just the criminal justice system in general. You see that you get the most underserved people when you're working in the criminal justice system. And so that's also an area close to my heart, working with diverse populations, underserved populations. I come from an ethno-religious minority group myself, and that's an area that's really close to my heart, looking at culture and diversity. So that's an area I've done research in and published in. So kind of bridging that into real life practice and mentoring students who will then go on to serve diverse and underserved communities. That alignment is something that really drew me in.
And so you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but how do you see your work impacting both students and the community?
So in terms of students, again, developing competent practitioners, really like that term, but helping students understand the value and the humanity in the work that we're doing and just the impact that their their work can have, and getting them to understand that their reports are not just legal documents that they may be testifying to, but really have real impact on the outcomes, on real life outcomes for people. So that's especially important to me in terms of teaching. And then, of course, that's a natural bridge over into the impact that it's going to have on clinical work, and forensic work, clinical work in that forensic setting as well. Because if you kind of shape students into looking at this work not just as work, but as meaningful and important and impactful, then you're going to have kind of a ripple effect outward. So yeah.
I agree. I always say that we're teaching our students to work with all everybody who interacts and seeks mental health services is in a vulnerable position, right? But in our forensic clientele and populations, they are particularly and especially vulnerable, especially if they're incarcerated, overrepresentation of minorities. There's a reason that we have this specialty area because it really takes deep knowledge and the critical thinking to work with this particular population.
Yeah.
And so kind of in line with that, what do you think makes our program unique or especially valuable for students?
Well, our program has the emphasis on integrating research, theory, and that practical application. So I think that's really kind of as great of a value as you can get in training. So that integration, I think, is what I think sets our program apart and is really unique about it. And the hybrid program as well. I do think there's some value in the chunks of time being kind of extended time that we meet with students over the weekends, it allows for some really fruitful discussion rather than just kind of meeting for an hour and a half every single week. That extended time, really engaging with the material and then having them go back home, engage with it on their own. That is something especially unique to our program. And I think it works really well.
I agree. I think our Southern California campuses having the blended modality really reaches a group of students that maybe wouldn't be able to access the education in other modalities. People who are parents or working professionals, and I like what you said about how the trade off, almost not trade off, but the balance of you guys meeting in a classroom and having discussions as a group, but then also the students having the time to like sit with the material on their own and do learn in the way that best works for them then on their own in that capacity as well.
Yeah, and I would just add, because I've taught in programs where we are meeting for like an hour or two, maybe more regularly, the depth with which you can really kind of tackle the material is limited. So I kind of didn't know what I didn't know before coming in to teach at this program, but I really do enjoy that we meet for extended periods of time, and it really allows for deep engagement with the material.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, what advice would you give to current students who are going to enter into our field and maybe prospective students who will come into our program?
Yeah. I have a couple pieces of advice. One, try to conceptualize yourself as a lifelong learner. I know we hear this a lot, but I do think that it's kind of a cliche for a reason. It is so important to stay curious and not to ever reach a point where you think that you're competent. Once you reach that point, we're in a danger zone. So keep learning, view yourself as a lifelong learner, stay excited about staying apprised on what is new in the literature, what is going on in the clinical world. This is really important. So both being open to learning constantly, no matter what degree of experience you have under your belt, and staying just genuinely curious, but also staying grounded and humble. This field can be really, really challenging for a variety of reasons, but it's also so incredibly rewarding for the reasons that I think we just talked about. Being open to feedback, seeking out mentorship and community, especially a lot of people are going to go into private practice, and it's so important again for those same reasons about staying humble and continuing to learn, to have some community, even if you're in a private practice. And then, of course, just taking care of yourself along the way so that you can keep doing the important work that we are doing.
Could not agree more. Thank you so much, Dr. Bassili, for joining me today. Appreciate you
Thank you.
taking
Thank you so much.